Hello everybody, this is a follow-up to my last video. It's still winter out here where I live and I can't do much yet really to work on the truck. So I'm just preparing to get it back home, make sure I have the parts and everything I need to get going. Again, I don't know much about vehicles in general, so the research for a lot of you, this would be really rudimentary, but for me it's sort of important to try and understand what it is I've purchased and what I'm going to be dealing with here. So I thought, basically, the most important thing that I think I got from the last video was sort of the glove box tag. I got a shot of it, including the serial number and a few other things there. And I was trying to figure out what the glove box tag meant, what these codes mean. Some of them are obvious, of course, but some of them are not. So I was searching around the internet. I went to a few websites where people talk about tags, and some people seem to know this stuff. I ended up going to a website that digitized a whole bunch of very old truck manuals, and I thought to myself, I did a little searching, and of course the 1960 Mercury / Ford pickup service manual was there. So I thumbed through the first few pages, which I've done for you here, and then I found a couple of really important tag explanations. So it explains sort of what the codes mean, and then there's a little lookup tables for each of the various bits of information. So the very first thing you'll see there is down on the right hand bottom side of the tag there's a little tag called engine transmission. So it's the engine code's a ZW or ZW-4 4 speed. ZW-4 speed. So if I do a little bit of looking up, I go to the engine lookup table, I find that in fact this engine's probably the 272 Y block. If the engine's stock, if it's the right engine, it's the 272 Y block, which is a little smaller than the 292, and apparently just the 292 is just a bore, slightly bigger bore, but more or less the same engine. So I got a 272 Y block on my hands. The other thing I realized is that the manifold, but I knew this ahead of time, the exhaust manifold's a bit of a weird setup. I did find a lovely video somebody made on the internet. I've included it here. It kind of really shows the kind of strange manifold setup that the 272 292 had, and it's the same one that I'll be going for with this particular truck. So there's a few other things that I noticed. So it's a 272 I've got. It's a 4-speed. I knew it was a 4-speed because it's 4 on the floor. There's a few other weird things about this engine. Like if you look in the engine compartment, you can see the blue container on the far right side. That far right side thing is, I think it was someone was getting it running and didn't clean out the fuel system and was putting fuel in that bottle and running it straight into the engine so they could keep it running. The engine itself looks in great shape. The manifolds, the exhaust manifolds, are missing. I don't know if you can tell that. You can tell it if you know the exhaust. What else did I notice about the engine? Oh, there's a big square hole in the radiator. I was talking it over with a friend, and he thinks it's probably because they repaired it. There was probably a leak in it, and one of the easiest ways to fix it is to cut out a section of it and then plug the flow in a very clear and easy way. So there are some other things that you can do about those manifolds, the exhaust manifolds. I'm not sure I'm going to do the stock manifolds because they're very difficult to find. The exhaust systems are difficult to find, apparently, at least from my research. So I do have a set of manifolds in the truck, in the front cab. I haven't actually held them up to the engine to make sure they're the right ones, and I'm not sure that they're the stock ones because they are. It looks like someone bought them at a wrecking yard or something. So I have to take a look at those and make sure they're the actual right ones. I'd prefer to have the weird exhaust. Second thing I was very concerned about was whether it was a 6 or 12 volt truck. Tells you how much I know about these vehicles. Again, I was chatting with somebody and they said, oh, definitely 12 volt. I subsequently learned that it is in fact a 12 volt truck. There's some weird, as you can see in the engine pictures, there's some weird wires dangling here and there, so I'm hoping it wasn't like my last truck, a 53 Chev, where the guy had done some massive doctoring of the electrical system and hadn't really documented it, and I had to go through and kind of make sure all the right wires were lined up with the right wires, and it was a bit of a tangle. I'm hoping this is not the case with this one. You can see on the against the engine wall, just in front of the driver's firewall there, you can see that there's two pressure chambers. I thought for a while that those might be two separate brake cylinders. I subsequently learned from a Hemmings photo that in fact one is a clutch to help make the clutch easier to push, and the other one is the brake cylinder. So that was a good thing to learn. I was watching a Junkyard Digs video, which helped me out, and Thunderhead 289 talked about, I think it was Thunderhead 289 talked about the Ford to turn it over with, you need a breaker bar and a 15/16 socket, just like every other Ford, I think he said, or something like that. So I got a good breaker bar on sale for $15 at a sale a couple of weeks ago, and I'm going to go there and I can see if spin the engine and see if it goes, or at least I can get it to turn. I couldn't get the fan to turn with with me holding on to the hand. There's one mystery. If you look at the codes, the trim code gives the paint color code as 1GG. Now, according to the trim and code, the paint sheet, it should be one color and it should be green. Now, if you notice the inside of the engine compartment, it is definitely green, and I think that's the green, the GG paint code that they're talking about. Now, the inside of the truck is a blue. Now, the blue, like there was a code for a two-tone truck, and this truck was not that two-toned color. It's a one-tone green truck. So I don't know, I can't explain why the truck, because the inside of the truck is this blue. It's very clearly the original color of the cab, the inside of the cab, and it seems completely perfect. It's a very good paint job. So I don't think it's been repainted inside, and I don't think the inside of the engine compartment and the underside of the hood have been painted. So I'm confused as to why there's one paint code, but there's two colors of paint with the truck. I mean, maybe it was one tone on the outside and the interior was a blue. I'm not exactly sure. So if anybody can solve that, you can let me know. So when I go up there to turn the engine over, my next trip, I'm going to go up there and I'm going to probably pull one spark plug. I'm going to take the breaker bar at a 15/16 and try to see if the engine will move. I'm going to hold the manifold gaskets up to the side of the Y block and see if they match up. If they do, I'm going to order a set of manifold gaskets and bolts because I can't find the manifold bolts. And then I'll bring the manifolds home and I'll probably clean them up and paint them just before I bother to install them. So that's where we're at right now, and thanks for watching.